Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome down to the Whiskey Nook. It's a Saturday, and we're getting into March, so that means a little bit of Irish should be talked about. Hopefully, the next couple of reviews, I'm going to share, a few thoughts over a little Irish as we head into St. Patrick's Day. If you have any Irish, it's always good to pour along, even if you don't have the same expression. Today, we're going to look at Kilbeggan. This is their single pot still whiskey. We'll talk more about that when we get back. We'll pour it. Well, I have it poured. We'll nose it. We'll taste it. We'll talk whiskey. But this will be my thoughts on Kilbeggan Single Pot Still Irish Whiskey.
3, 4.
Thanks for staying with me through the break. I got some big hopes for this bottle. Kilbeggan is actually a really old name and brand, even though it's actually, only very recently been making liquid in its own distillery again. I believe this story is something like it's had a license to produce whiskey continuously since 1757 or something close like that. Like, it's really old. And, it kind of went out of business in the 60s, I believe. And then I think, what's the story? Cooley would have bought them, like in the sense of their name, and produced whiskey under their name. Then went to Beam Suntory. And then I think the town rebuilt the distillery as a historic site. And then now it's in the town and it's making whiskey again. And I've heard that the pot still that's making this, that copper pot still, is like 180, like it's like the oldest pot still being used to make whiskey, which is pretty cool. If you're kind of new to Irish, a little bit about it, single pot still means, it's distilled in a pot still, and it's made of a malted and unmalted barley mix. Has something to do with the tax man. If you threw some unmalted in there, apparently you paid less tax back in the day, and so that's kind of where it became popular. A lot of Irish is triple distilled. This particular release says that it's double distilled, and also uses a very old family addition, apparently, which is a little bit of oats in the mash bill. I think 2.5% it says right on it. So this is 43%. It doesn't talk about chill, filtration, or coloring. And because it doesn't talk about it, I just always assume that it is both of those. But at least it's a little bit off the floor. It's not 40, it's 43%. It is considered a single pot still Irish whiskey, but it does have a little bit of oats in it. All right. That's really all I know. If you know more about Kilbeggan, let me know. And either way, I hope you have a little bit of Irish in your glass. Let's see what we get. I almost said true to Irish style. It's a sweet nose. It's a welcoming nose. Honeysuckle. Well, not floral enough, so really it's kind of honey and a creamy, golden, delicious apple maybe. Very light toffee, vanilla. I'm going to come back to that kind of a sweet fruit. Really a nice, approachable, well-ripe fruit. Nice nose. Let's see what we got. Sláinte. On the palate first, again, I'm like, it's kind of sweet and light. But actually, even while I kept it around there, a little bit of spice came in. Nice, and it kind of, the spice freshened it in some way. It's just a light spice, almost a perky. Now I can get a little more freshness, a little more crisp fruits, a little more light mint. This plays nice in the mouth. It coats. That gives it that little bit of creamy nature. And more spicing. That actually went into a light, like a white pepper. Yeah. a fair amount. And that's nice because before that it was playing a little bit heavy into a sweet, fruity, light Irish, which is fine, nice, but it's got two things that I think bring it off the floor. I think I said that already twice, but is that spicing is done well. It's a brightening spice, but a little bit of peppering to it, which I like. And the other is the mouthfeel. This is a fairly creamy Irish. So I like it. You know, Whisky Advocate put it at number 8 in their top 20 for last year, for 2020. And that is high praise. And they drink a lot more whiskey than me and really know a lot more than I do. So it's probably worth more. It's decently affordable. It doesn't have a lot of tough edges. The spicing tends, now that I talk in the long finish, for me to go a little astringent. So there is a bit of long end bitterness, not in the palate, not while I'm enjoying it, but kind of at the end that I'm not a huge fan of. But the balance between sweet oak spice and that creaminess, I think gives it a good go. This is probably a 4-star whiskey for me, which is really quite good. Very drinkable. You know, now that I keep talking, that bitterness has come back. I might have to shave it under, go 3 3/4. But as I said, people that know more than me have given it a very high mark. If you haven't had it and you like Irish, you're looking for something new, I absolutely recommend it. It's worth a buy. But it's maybe even just slightly under 4, only because could just be me. Well, it's always just me. But for me, there is a little bit of bitterness that plays around in the finish. While I'm drinking it, I don't get it. And the palate and nose are really enjoyable. So that's my thoughts. Then I thought I'd compare it with an Irish I've talked to you guys about a couple of times. And that'll be Writer's Tears Copper Pot. Oh, no, not Copper Pot. I think this is the double one. This is the double oak. These guys had a distillery, and then that fell apart for them, which is too bad, because I bet they would have put out some really good stuff. But Walsh Whiskey sources fantastic Irish whiskey. They're behind the Irishman, and they're behind Writer's Tears. This is the double oak, which means it's aged in ex-bourbon, but then it's aged again in, I believe it's cognac barrels. I should have checked that before I got on here, but I believe that's true. And it's released at 46%. We'll see, just kind of comparing 43, 46, how these two Irish go. The fruiting on this nose is significantly deeper. I'm playing into sort of a plum or a cooked fruit, but also a little bit of a floral note. Yeah, this almost spicy on the nose this time. Playing more into vanilla, ripe golden fruits. This gives me a little more floral, a little more plum. On the palate. That is a rich dram. Has some of the coating, some of the spicing, but a deeper caramel, and that rich fruit continues. Of course, everything is always a personal taste, but my personal palate, that second sip, third sip, how many sips have I had? Locked it in. I like this double oak a lot. And this is over 4 stars for me. It's 4 1/4. It's a really good Irish. This Kilbeggan is solid and it's very drinkable. Very, very drinkable. It's the kind of whiskey that I think if we were allowed to have friends over, it would be pretty easy to go through a bottle. Guys, thanks for joining me here today. Just some thoughts. As I said, the next couple of reviews, I'm really going to try to stick to Irish because, you know, St. Patrick's Day coming up, and it's always a good idea to have a whiskey on hand for that night. Thanks for joining me. Hope you guys have a great week.